And good evening. This is Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Canute Jr. If you'd like to join the show, of course, we'll give you the call-out number here. It's 515-244-0077. It's been a couple weeks since I have done the show, and I almost didn't do it today. I had some sinus issues yesterday when I started to come downtown. That bright noon sun didn't help me.
So, the bright noon sun affects your nose. I didn't know.
Well, it didn't help in the sensitive eyes.
Oh, I see.
And they started watering, and then that...
I got to get the clip-on shades.
And it was downhill from there on. And
wow.
It's
like your face was melting, huh?
I borrowed a pair of sunglasses from the lady up where I park. Mm-hmm. And I thought... that drive down here just about killed me. So I said that walk for about 2 blocks or 3 blocks, get on the skywalk, was going to be a killer. So I had to have some shades.
And I've noticed that it does seem that the pollen is really kicking in now.
Must be.
I was thinking allergies are going to be over really early this year since we've had pretty much an early spring. But
well, of course, being a fair-complected lad, when I was young, I had the issues.
Right.
And, of course, I wouldn't suggest this for any potential parents. But being born in the 1950s, I don't know what really was available over the counter. NyQuil obviously wasn't around in the 1950s. I've gathered that my grandparents, to get me, I suppose, to sleep, used to put about 3 to 4 ounces of beer in a bottle.
That's really how I get to sleep still.
So if the old verse is minus a few brain cells... That may be part of the reason.
So you came into the studio drinking today, huh?
I was tempted. Yes.
I'm just teasing.
That would have been a good thought. Now, my dad used to say when you feel something coming on, you were supposed to take a shot of whiskey or whatever you could get a hold of, but you got to do it as soon as you feel it.
Right. Well, that actually kind of makes a little bit of sense if you think about it, because alcohol is a sterilant.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't that theoretically kill anything off?
Even the Bible says, and some people may take this out of context, but I think Christ said, I think it was to Peter, that a little wine for the stomach's sake.
Yeah.
But there's, I don't want to give anybody a license to be an alkie, but...
Well, I'm off to Hy-Vee to buy some Jack Daniels now. Because of you, Frank. Because of you. I saw some story on WHO, their website, about some woman who was texting her boyfriend. They were going through a nasty breakup. She was at the bar drinking, and she texts him, "Well, I'm driving home drunk. I'll be dead because of you." And then she gets in an accident and kills her passenger. So that's what that comment reminded me of.
Well, so anyway...
cheery subjects today.
I took a couple of cold pills, and I've got a couple in my pocket, and I thought if I could make it through the 3 o'clock show today, and I was still living, and I've still got the 2 in my pocket, so... so far, so good. So we'll try this.
As long as you're not drooling by the end of this show, that'll be fine.
Well, I'll start here. Just... something I wrote here on April the 29th. Let me share some insight from one of my favorite authors. And this is from a book called Christ Objects Lessons. Christ, through parables, taught profound yet simple truths. He taught both to the learned and the educated, and to the simple and poor and meek of heart. And at the same time, calling out and confounding those hypocrites seeking his demise. Christ might have opened to man the deepest truths of science. He might have unlocked mysteries that required centuries of toil and study to penetrate. He might have made suggestions and scientific lines for thought and stimulus of invention till the close of time. But he done none of this. He said nothing to gratify curiosity, satisfy ambition, to opening doors to worldly greatness. In all his teachings, Christ brought the finite mind of man into contact with the infinite mind of God. He did not direct man to study man's theories or speculations, for if men are assumed to be right, then the Word of God cannot be. This is the error of unbelief. So that kind of was spurred by, we've had a lot of atheists on our show of late.
Mm-hmm.
And atheists tend to want things proven to them by repetition through science. If you can't prove something over and over and over as a given.
Right. They view science as their so-called religion, so-called God. When really, if you think about it, how many things that we accepted as scientific fact, decades ago, have been proven wrong? So,
have you?
They like to point out. They like to say that the Bible is contradictory, but science is really contradictory because it contradicts itself, and we learn new facts.
Have you caught this recently? I don't know. I've seen it. I think two episodes that they've been airing on PBS about the Hubble telescope and how many images they're getting from that telescope.
I have not seen any of those specials.
Well, one of the points they made on it is that the astronomers are just stunned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's split probably, from what I heard, probably more on the lines of 70-30, maybe 60-40. It's not an even split. But most of the people who are studying this stuff, their jaws are just dropping that the mathematics involved in the universe is so astonishing that and the mathematicians, and I suppose mathematic engineers or whatever that study that, maybe study that, or that was in their field of study to become whatever, an astronomer. It's telling them that this information is discovered as opposed to learned. Now, to split the difference there, discovery would mean just reinforcing something that's already known.
Mm-hmm.
So these people are just being floored that, well, yeah, this makes sense.
That we live in a mathematical universe?
Well, inside of that mathematical universe, God is very precise. I mean...
well, right. I've said on this show a number of times that mathematics is absolute proof that there is a God. Because of its precision, it proves that it was intelligently designed.
But then God creates something, and through his sovereignty, he can step in and out of those boundaries that he's given us, such as miracles, such as when he sends an angel that probably comes at faster than the speed of light,
mm-hmm.
when we call upon his help.
Yeah, but I think even if you really dig down into that, most of what we call miracles can probably be explained. We don't understand how those work. So I guess I'm saying that God doesn't necessarily have to step outside of bounds, so to speak, because he's created all the boundaries, and we just don't understand how those extra boundaries work.
Well, and I heard a minister say one time that basically these natural disasters and these things that happen would happen every day because it's God that steps in and intervenes, because when Satan took control of the place, he don't understand the laws that govern things. And frankly, he don't know how to run the place.
Sure. I think I was talking about something along those lines a couple of weeks ago when I hosted about how God, there's like multiple viewpoints, so to speak. So if you think about our level of understanding, like we're running around in this corn maze, and we can only see, just what's in front of us and everything. And then you've got the next layer up, which are supernatural powers like angels, demons, and the devil. They're standing a little bit above it, so they can see a little bit over the corn maze and everything. So they've got a whole different level of understanding, a different level of perception, but they don't see the entire picture. And then you've got God, who's above the entire earth and can see every single thing and has ultimate perception of everything that's going on.
Yeah. Well, the point being is that it tells you when there's moral absolutes as opposed to moral relativity or value judgments. When there's mathematics are an absolute, 2 + 2 is going to equal 4, then, now, forever.
Except for Common Core.
Yes. Well, because when Johnny says you're placing a value judgment on me because I say 2 + 2 is 5,
mm-hmm.
Johnny's not wrong because right and wrong is only what's inside of Johnny.
Right.
That's your secular humanism.
They teach that in college now that, if somebody believes what was the example? I had a fight with somebody about this on a train in Chicago. That basically, if so and so believes in Santa Claus, that's reality to that person. Right. So who are we to discount that person's reality?
Exactly.
Well, they're trying to argue that there are no absolute statements.
Well, now the point being in this discussion is that mathematic absolutes, and in that, of course, is free will, love, choice, God, the 7-day week, you have the lunar moon, or the lunar year, the lunar month, but there's no explanation for the 7-day week except for creation and the observance of Sabbath. But besides those things, the universe is run on a precise mathematics. And that just totally eliminates the possibility of chance.
Exactly. That eliminates the possibility of the Big Bang occurring and evolution occurring. It totally throws those things out of reality.
I think I mentioned it on the show one night, the precision of neutrons to protons to have the perfect amount of electromagnetic pull versus gravity. The universes couldn't have been formed, number one, if it was off an iota, number one.
Exactly.
But number two, it's what keeps it in harmony where things ain't slamming into each other.
Yeah.
Why do we don't slam into the sun or the moon slam into the sun or collide into the earth and just kill us all? But it's run on mathematic precision. And you just can't get away from the fact that if you have a mathematic absolute, there's no element of chance.
I agree with you totally.
Well, that was the reason for that article.
God is a scientist. It's just these atheists refuse to admit the science. They try to pervert science into this religion of disproving God, when science really should be the study of how God put things together.
And it's in science and philosophy. Speculation and theory is instead of God's absolutes, man falls along speculation and theory, otherwise known as science and philosophy. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, these things become a god and a religion of their own, like you say, Ed Fallon, the head of the Church of Latter-day Global Saints.
Poor Ed Fallon.
Hey, I seen Ed this week. He actually...
Is he done with the pipeline walk?
Yeah, he was in here on Doc and Lefty's show.
Okay.
And I happened to see him this week, and Maddie was here, and it was kind of good to see old Ed. But
well, good. I'm glad he got through his walk all right.
Well, here's something quick. I don't know if we've ever discussed this, so you may disagree with me on this. You may agree. I don't have any sense how you might feel on it, so I'll just toss it out there. I don't know about the morons studying for the idiot exam on the Supreme Court, what they were thinking when they asserted that the burning of an American flag to be free speech, or how it's free speech down at the local strip club for a young lady to take off her clothes. The same buffoons who endorse this nonsense pee and moan about the Citizens United decision making corporations people and money speech. Oh, but they don't bat an eye about labor unions or collective speech and money, but corporations are bad and evil. Well, both are good or both are bad. Just be consistent. But back to the flag. Have some respect, for God's sake, of the men and women who died for that old glory. Okay, we get you, dumb, certain word I won't say here. You hate the U.S. and America, but figure out some way to show your contempt for the place besides burning, peeing, crapping on the old red, white, and blue. And if you dare, don't be surprised if some veteran punches you in your face because your rights end where their rights start. I'm one glad to see our flag of independence wave, so get a life.
Well, I agree with you in those assertions. I think burning a flag, I think it's uncouth. I think it's disrespectful, but I don't know if I would make that a criminal offense because it is somebody's speech, as crappy as that speech might be.
Well, we're going to head to our first break, and we will return. Please join us when we come back.
Remax Real Estate Concept Studios. This is Webcast One Live.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
The only way we come to know the Saviorship of Jesus Christ is by bowing and acknowledging that He is Lord and King over all the earth.
Jesus Christ died on a cross, paid the penalty for our sin, and by repenting of our sin and accepting Him by faith, what He did for us, we are forgiven.
Salvation is not a combination of faith and works. Salvation is by faith alone in God.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Boom, boom, bang, bang. Light
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and our lovely but knocked up Maddie producing.
Are you saying women can't be pretty if they're pregnant? That's terrible.
No, they become more beautiful. But see, there's that.
She's gonna come in here and snap your neck off, man.
But there is that period when, like my wife,
Wow.
They start feeling very hormonal. Let's say. Have you reached that point yet?
I'm feeling uncomfortable. Let's move on to the next topic.
Alrighty then.
Okay.
But Maddie producing. If you've ever wondered why the large Democratic cities are bankrupt and have so many race issues, look no farther than the buffoon they have as mayor, Stephanie Rawlings Blake. This goober makes Ray Nagin of New Orleans fame look good. She said that the city would give those seeking to destroy the room to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now she denies she said it and said the media is twisting her words. She is so
It's only on video.
She's so damn dense, she can't figure out that she was taped and it's on the cloud saying it. This is what you get when you put a quasi-socialist in office and you vote based on race or gender only, and this is an opportunity to take a shot at Hillary for those of you who are going to go in and kerching the lever for Hillary just based on the fact she's a woman. You need to quit being led like sheep. Stand up and speak for yourself and kick the Sharptons and the Jacksons out your neighborhoods.
Well, I couldn't agree more. This is this whole Baltimore thing is working on a lot of different levels. But yeah, she told the police, it's confirmed, she told the police, I think it was last Saturday night, to stand down.
Absolutely.
Give them space to protest. They wanted it to get buck wild here. What happened to Freddie Gray? We don't know all the details of what happened to Freddie Gray. We know that the video shows that it really looks like the police were stepping way out of bounds. We don't know what happened on that van ride. They had their knee into his neck, so that probably caused some injuries there. We got the DA ruling that it's a homicide, and they're going to charge the cops on that. They did that just today. So it sure looks like there's that this one is much more of a legitimate case than, let's say, the Michael Brown shooting, where witnesses came out and said no, he charged him.
I went home last night, and keeping in mind the runny eyes and the dripping nose. Mm-hmm. But I tried to stay up and watch and catch up on some of this. And as of last night, they were reporting that the coroner had said that his injuries were consistent, and they didn't get real descriptive with this, but there was some sort of a protruding bolt somewhere, and they were saying that potentially he could have had a seizure. He was
well, if he had a seizure, that could be consistent with having a damage to the back of his neck.
Well, yeah,
from
what
the
comes
arrest.
first? But he was dealing heroin. Who knows what he was on drug-wise? But supposedly somebody else who was in the paddy wagon ride with him said the guy was slamming himself up against the wall out of irritation, and that potentially that this the coroner was saying these injuries could be consistent with that description. Now, all of a sudden, I wake up this morning and 6 cops have just been blanketly indicted. Well, number one, my question is, who's the trigger man in a crime? You're just throwing a blanket indictment over 6 guys just because, like the woman who was raped that time in, I think it was Boston, up in Massachusetts, in the pool room, and they made the movie out of it that Jodie Foster played the character, that they started prosecuting people because they stood by and watched. So you're going to throw a blanket indictment over 6 cops that maybe some participated in, some didn't, but you don't got the trigger man or the guy that supposedly, quote unquote, committed the crime. This just looks like a high-tech lynching to satisfy the likes of course, Al Sharpton, who just buzzed in yesterday, and a Fox reporter, Leland Vittert, was trying to get some interview with Stephanie Rollins Blake as she was walking down the thing, and of course, Sharpton was running interference for her, and then some bodyguard or police officer come and shoved Leland Vittert out of the way. But listen, the hero in this is, and I don't know if you've heard this story, but the hero in this was, in my opinion, Mrs. Toya Graham, who went out and grabbed her 16-year-old son and slapped a can of whoop butt on him. And now she's being looked at by protective services for child abuse.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't buy personally the story that that a bolt in the back of the van caused him to sever 80% of his spine. That's impossible. That's just impossible. The cops are on tape being abusive. Freddie didn't really do anything wrong at that time. I don't know why the cops decided to go after him. We've been documenting. I could probably do a police brutality case of the week, each week on this show, because the problem is that police across the country have been trained to believe that they're above us. They've been trained to believe that they are apart from the civilian population, and that's simply not the case. Police are part of the civilian population. They are civilians.
And but
they're part of this.
Go ahead.
They're part of this gang mentality now that it's us versus them. So we've got this divide between us and police officers. But the interesting thing about this Baltimore mayor is that she has been on a 3-governor panel. She's a key player in Obama's federal takeover of local police. Rawlings Blake was one of 3 mayors who provided broad input into President Obama's Task Force on 21st Century Policing, which advocates the federalization of police departments across the country by forcing them to adhere to stricter federal requirements when they receive funding. So she was on there with Kevin Johnson, the mayor of Sacramento, California, and Michael Nutter, the mayor of Philadelphia. So she's part of that. So, and then what's really interesting is that just today you see Reverend Al and you see the fat slob Jabba the Hutt coming out today saying, well, we ought to federalize police. We ought to just put them all under federal control. When the problem with police brutality in this country that we've been seeing for years and years now is because the federal government has been stepping in and militarizing them for years. So this is a problem reaction solution. That's the end game really, is to bring it under a federal control, take local people out of policing and put it all under control of Washington and eventually the UN.
I just want to make one point about this mother. Listen, there's a lot of strong, intelligent black women in the world that I would endorse in a second to be the mayor of Baltimore, but this woman is apparently not one of them. But how about Toya Graham? How about voting for her for mayor?
Well, if she runs and the people of Baltimore want to vote for her, then...
look, listen, we may not particularly agree, toe for toe, line for line on this issue and this debate. But I've contended I was born in 1957, so I was alive when Malcolm X was before he was assassinated. And decades of black men, in particular, women too, but decades of black men has been indoctrinated in the belief that the justice system in this country is fundamentally biased against them. And they can't be totally equal to the whites until they have their own courts, their own judges, their own police, their own hospitals. Of course, we would be picking up the tab, I assume. But the point I want to make here is if you had Freddie Gray on tape sticking a gun to his own head and pulling the trigger, I think you would have some in the black community say he was coerced by the Baltimore Police Department to do it. That's how out of control we are on this country. I'm not saying you may or may not be right about police actions in this country, but I think it cuts across the board. It happens to white people as well as blacks. I don't think there's no color issues in it.
Absolutely, it does, and you're absolutely right. There has been this indoctrination that there's been this blanket victimization of the black culture. That's why Martin Luther King had to be taken out of the picture, because he was about bringing black people up and not having them as a sub race, but as equals. And now you've got people like Al Sharpton out there who make money off of them being a sub race and being victimized. So that is one of the aspects that's at play here. We've got the professional communist community organizer
agitators
in the White House, because that's what he did. He was a community organizer. That was his job description before he was in politics. So we've got the professional communist community organizer who is going around trying to stir up any type of racial issue. So yes, the cops did wrong, but the response that has occurred after which is wrong as well.
Now, did you catch the fact? I know you're probably not a big baseball fan, nor am I.
Oh, I'm a huge baseball fan.
Are
actually.
you?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, then you saw that apparently the Baltimore Orioles played a game.
Right, they played a game in an empty stadium.
Now, imagine going to a WWE event where there's not a person in the arena, but they're holding an actual wrestling match with the announcers, Jerry the King. And
actually, they aired that as a Super Bowl halftime special once. It was the Mick Foley versus The Rock empty arena match that was played on USA during the halftime show of the Super Bowl that year. And it ended with Mick Foley putting a crate down from a forklift on The Rock as the pin and winning the WWF championship.
Okay, so we went from one extreme to the other. We had militarized police going on in Ferguson, and we had these guys basically stand back and stand down because of an order given.
Mm-hmm.
and give these people room to let off some steam and tear some crap up. And Stephanie Rawlings Blake said, well, it's only stuff. Don't worry about the looting. It's only stuff.
Right. And really,
okay, so let's go over and burn her house down and let people take her stuff.
Right. And what really gets my gall is that you've got all these morons on Facebook who are defending rioting. Now, as upset as they are in the community over what happened to Freddie, and they should be upset because it sure looks like there was a police brutality thing that went on. But as upset that they are, there is no excuse for rioting. If they want to protest. What they should do is they should do something like the Occupy movement. There should be, if they want to protest, put thousands of people in City Hall. Put thousands of people refusing to leave in the police station. What a statement that would make. Here's the point. This defense by the liberals trying to glamorify rioting, basically, and so they're trying to glamorize rioting, and then any attack against rioting, anybody who decries the rioting, they're telling you you're a racist for decrying that. So what's ridiculous, if you really think about it, is this defense of rioting really exposes the racism of liberals, because what they're doing is they're saying that black people, the black community, isn't clever enough to do anything other than act like a bunch of thugs in the street whenever they get angry.
Well, it just boggles my imagination to think that burning down your own neighborhood is helping your cause.
Oh,
chasing
right.
businesses out that potentially is bringing commerce to your neighborhood, creating some jobs when this country is so hard up for jobs as it is.
And they're encouraged to do that because they have these sleepers who, are also informants with the government, like Al Sharpton used to be.
Well, we're coming upon our mid break, and this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host Frank Holzhauser and my co-host David Canute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Gray.
Shorty, that was after they tased out him like that. Man, I've been recording. I've been recording it. I've been recording it. What car they come out of, yo?
He on a bike, yo, right there. Him right there. He on a bike.
I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, yo.
Get his badge, man. His chump badge.
After they did tase yo like that, you wonder why he can't use his legs.
Now, he was standing there.
Yeah, he was standing there.
Yeah, I sure will. I sure will.
So who knows what happened. Thank you, Maddie, for playing that. So, yeah, we don't know what happened. You know, once he got into the van, maybe he was throwing himself around. Maybe they tossed him
We
around.
didn't officially, I think, come in from the break, but this is Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser and David Kaniuk. And that was the video that David was showing of the arrest of Freddie Gray in Baltimore.
Now, here's an interesting twist on that. The guy who shot that video, Kevin Moore, he was arrested today. The man who filmed Freddie Gray's brutal arrest has now himself been arrested following harassment and intimidation from Baltimore police. This is from the independent.uk. Moore was arrested at gunpoint last night along with two other members of Cop Watch, a group dedicated to filming and documenting police work. His video of Gray's arrest was shot shortly before the man suffered spinal injuries while in police custody that led to his death. Moore claims that despite having cooperated with two detectives in the Baltimore Police Department's Office of Internal Oversight and given them the video, police posted his photo and told the public that he was wanted for questioning, asking people to identify him. What is so important that you have to plaster my picture all over the internet? I've already spoken, Moore said, suggesting that they posted it simply to intimidate him. Moore was asleep in his home in the morning of April 12th when his uncle yelled to him, "The police are tasing Freddie." And then he ran out and he recorded the video. So very interesting that they've decided to arrest the guy who blew the whistle on whatever happened there.
Beings that I would describe you as pretty much a, well, I'll use this word, you may not. I'll call you a staunch libertarian. I don't know what the answer to all of this is, but I've got a couple of suggestions here, and I'm sure you'll probably think it's as extreme as the article you read about the people who was talking about the rioting, but I'll toss them out there. Our cities are having like a man has sympathy pains for his pregnant wife. These cities are having sympathy pains and being, comrades in arms with their brothers and whatever. We're having these outbursts in different cities in America. But in these circumstances, I think, and without going, and I know you and martial law don't get along real well, but in these instances, there has to be an absolute curfew enforced right off the bat. They can't go a day. We're going to let them peacefully protest a day. There has to be a curfew because no good is going to happen after dark. Second thing, anybody who violates that curfew, I don't care what the reason, needs hauled to the clink. And I'm going to say this, and you may fall off your chair and agree, disagree, I don't know. But if you pick up a bottle, a brick, a 2-pound slab of concrete, a Molotov cocktail, and you launch it at a police officer, I'm sorry, but if I'm the police officer being launched at, that's going to be met with deadly force, lethal force, because that is an attempt on my life. And I don't know about you, this is probably a little extreme, but I don't know how you're going to stop the looting other than the threat of shooting on sight. Now, you drop about a half a dozen of these buffoons, these thugs, these professional thugs that are coming in, these anarchists that are coming in, drop about 6 of them, And maybe these other guys will get the idea to go home. Because I'm telling you, man, this country is a powder keg, an absolute powder keg. I don't know all the reasons. I know some of them. But this nation is a powder keg waiting for a match, waiting for a spark.
No, you're absolutely right. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to prime that pump for a civil war in this country. As far as the solution to what's going on, in Baltimore, obviously they shouldn't have given protesters or rioters. I'm sorry, because they're not protesters; they were rioters. Obviously, they shouldn't have given them space to riot and loot and destroy, because looting and destroying and things like that, those are crimes. So the police are justified in stopping those crimes and arresting those people. And like you said, if those people are using force against the police, then the police are then justified to respond in kind with force in order to prevent the destruction of other people's property.
Well, a black guy was yelling the other night, and he was showing a Fox reporter, and he lifted up his shirt and showed that he had got hit with beanbags 3 times, and he was showing these bloody marks or bruises on his body. Better a beanbag than a 357 or a 9mm or whatever that comes out of a sniper rifle. But I don't know what to do with these situations because, like I said, they have been conditioned for 50 years now to believe that the system is fundamentally against them, and it doesn't. The facts never matter in these cases. The fact that hands up, don't shoot didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's irrelevant because it's like the rape case in the Rolling Stone rape case. It's like it just paints a bigger picture of an existing problem. So even though that didn't happen because there's rape on college campuses.
Actually, the studies have shown there really isn't that much rape on college campuses compared to what they claim there is. But that's beside the point. No, I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. I think what the problem is, there are a couple of problems. One, there's no outstanding leader in the black community at this point. We've got these carpetbaggers like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson who prey off of the black community being downtrodden. You're right in the sense that there is this perception that the justice system is against black people. However, there is a reality to that as well, with this ridiculous war on drugs and everything, and then the shipment of narcotics into black communities, which has devastated them.
Why isn't our first black president the leader and calling for calm and excellent saying,
point.
Hey, let's move on from this. Let's quit You're never going to move past slavery if you don't move past slavery.
Well, because his daddy wasn't Barack Obama Sr., his daddy was communist propagandist Frank Marshall Davis.
Well, there was no slave blood in Obama's bloodline, according to what I hear.
Well, according to the official biography, there was no. I mean, I don't know where Frank Marshall Davis is.
You have anything else to say on this topic? Because I want to move on to Hillary before.
What I was going to finish up, I guess, with is that this is symptomatic of the federalization of police forces, of the militarization of police forces, and that's really where the problem lies. If we stopped separating police from the general population and making them a gang unto themselves, then you might have better relations between police and the community. We need to get back to police being part of the local community instead of them just being there as a militaristic arm of the community. And these calls to federalize the police, that's exactly what the federal government wants. And you are not going to have anything better if you take control out of local hands and put it in the hands of the federal government. Nothing ever good comes from that.
Well, I think we've hammered this issue out pretty good, and I'm sure we're not done with the issues. So in weeks to come, I'm sure there'll be more flare-ups and things, because I have a feeling it's going to be a long, hot summer.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right, Frank.
I do want to talk a little bit about Hillary's announcement, her rollout of her campaign, and the idea that she's just for the working staff. Mm-hmm. She's just, for the average American. And there's been some stories coming out that more scandals, surprise, surprise, and this has been spawned by a book by, I think his name's Peter Schweitzer. Is that the name?
I'm not sure.
He has something to do with, he's an ex-Bush something, speechwriter, maybe something. But apparently whatever he's wrote in his book has now been turned over to the Washington Post and New York Times, and other reporting agencies are starting to hit Hillary pretty hard. And one in particular thing is this scandal on uranium, that the Russians now own potentially a company potentially of about 40 to 50% of our uranium supply. And this deal was signed off on by potentially the State Department, the Justice Department, Obama. They're tossing in some different agencies that may have signed off on this. But just so happens that $31 million got donated to the Clinton Global Initiative with the promise of another $100 million. And Bill Clinton's speeches magically went up to about $500,000 per speech.
Now, I thought Hillary didn't have a nickel when she left the White House.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, these guys are, they're in the Mitt Romney, John Kerry, John McCain. They're worth they're worth potential hundreds of millions of dollars now.
Isn't that funny how public servants come into government like that, and then they come out just multi-millionaires?
If I'm to understand right, there's actual documentation that Harry Reid come in with, I want to say, less than $1,000 in his bank account when he became a U.S. senator, and he's now leaving a multi-millionaire.
Yep.
So if you don't come in rich and come in a millionaire, you certainly will leave one.
Yeah.
And if you don't, shame on you.
Yeah, well, they legalized insider trading, so I mean, for them, if Martha Stewart does it, she goes to the clink.
Sure.
But they're okay with doing it, and that's.
But now here's the kick. Here's the kick in the pants to the story. Potentially, Russia would be funneling uranium to Iran. They're now going to give them a missile shield system to shoot down potential Israeli missiles that come lobbing in at them.
Well, that shows you just how ridiculous this whole Iran situation is, and this idea that we have to go and attack Iran. I mean, like I told Brad Zahn years ago, Iran can get whatever they want off the black market. They don't have to go through the time and the expense to build their own reactors and everything like that, to develop an atom bomb. They could, if anything they want, they can just go buy. Do you think North Korea would be?
I would just say quickly to you, though, if they had it, believe me, Hamas or Hezbollah would strap it on. It would have been lit by now.
So that should prove that they don't have it.
This has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and we'll return after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk. And I'll give out the call number real quick in case you want to join the show, 515-244-0077. Just to finish up, these people are penniless. But yet they feel for the people who have a mortgage because they too have mortgages, just with an S.
You're talking about Hillary?
Yes. Yeah. They're hell against hedge fund managers, but that just so happens to be the profession of Chelsea's husband.
Right.
Hedge fund manager.
It's
they closed a deal on a $10.5 million apartment for Chelsea. You know, they're worth millions and millions of dollars. Their global initiative, library funds, and the Clinton Foundation has, you know, raised billions. Mm-hmm. And about 15%, 80-some percent, they say about 15% of that goes to the cause. I heard years ago, by the way, that, you know, these different contributions that you make to these different charitable organizations on a good day, about 10% of it makes it to the cause.
Yeah, it just depends on the organization.
90% of it goes to what they call, you know.
Well, it should show you how broken the so-called two-party political system is.
Administrative. It goes to administrative costs.
Right. But I guess my point to how Clinton's and their money, it shows you how broken the system really is when the perceived choice out there is a choice not even between two parties anymore, but now two families. Are we going to put the Bushes back in? Or are we going to put the Clintons back in?
Well, now,
what a charade.
Just so happens Peter Schweizer's next book is on Jeb Bush.
Well, good. I mean, I'm looking forward to that.
So he proclaims he's not a partisan in this.
Yeah.
But
I haven't read his book on Hillary yet, so I'll be interested to try and pick that up.
There's no real smoking guns in the book. It's all a lot of coincidence, but it's a load of coincidence.
Right. I mean, if you're going to vote for Hillary, then you're brain dead. I'm sorry. That's really all there is to it. You don't want to. You're voting for her basically because A, she's a Democrat, and B, she's a woman. That's the only real reason that you can see to vote for Hillary. The most failed person that I can imagine to be put in public office.
And I should have made note, but I did. Did you happen to catch what input that Dung Hee, as Rush Limbaugh so eloquently named her when I was on his show? Did you happen to catch what she said about Baltimore? I didn't. But she piped in her 2 cents worth on Baltimore.
I don't remember verbatim what she said. Wasn't she talking about Baltimore being the result of income inequality?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. So, yeah, it's so hypocritical of her to say, oh, it's income inequality when she's loaded.
No country has ever spent its way to prosperity.
Absolutely, but that's what we try to do with our broken financial system.
We need more government programs in Baltimore. That will solve the issue.
That's not going to solve anything.
You got a story you'd like to hit?
I was sent this last night. This is from WorldNet Daily. 2 members of Supreme Court targeted by U.S. spies. U.S. intelligence agencies have harvested the personal and private data of hundreds of federal officials and judges, including Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Charges a legal brief filed by Larry Klayman, the attorney who has come to be known as the NSA Slayer for his successful legal battles against the National Security Agency. Klayman, founder of Freedom Watch, successfully sued the National Security Agency in 2013 over the collection of telephone metadata from Verizon customers that was detailed in documents released by intelligence document leaker Edward Snowden. In December 2013, U.S. District Judge Richard Leon ruled the NSA program likely is unconstitutional and ordered the government to stop collecting data on the 2 plaintiffs. He stayed his injunction pending appeal, however, in light of the significant national security interests at stake in this case and the novelty of the constitutional issues. So there you have it. The Supreme Court and many other federal officials being spied on by the NSA Gee, do you think that might have figured into John Roberts' decision to go for Obamacare at all?
Well,
maybe blackmail. This is what happens in a communist society.
Well, I've told you on this show before that the famous supposed quip by J. Edgar Hoover at the time in, I suppose, the 60s, that the population of the country was roughly 250 million, and he proclaimed to have files on 200 million and was closing fast.
Yeah.
So it's
and that's
in
not
some sense,
justifiable at all.
No, I'm not saying that, but in some sense, it's nothing new. But would you have a country? Would you really want a country where somebody isn't keeping tabs on certain organizations like the Klan or organized crime?
That's not what this is about, though. The NSA spying is about keeping tabs on every single person without any warrants, which is contrary to the Constitution. That's what it's about.
I understand that, but in some sense, what they're saying is if they don't have all the dots, they can't connect the dots.
That's Bravo Sierra. That is Bravo Sierra. If they've got a group that is going around threatening other people, then they've got probable cause to get a warrant and keep tabs on them. But they don't have any probable cause to go through your metadata because you haven't done anything. They don't have any probable cause to go through my metadata because I don't have any criminal record. I've never done anything. But that is exactly what they're doing. They're just collecting it so they can, if there is any perceived threat to the state, they can try and connect dots and make something up on you. I think it was somebody that was, I think it was Stalin's. Oh, I can't remember the name of him, but he said, "Show me the man, and I'll give you the crime." And I'm sure I'm paraphrasing that, but that means that, if I've got files on everybody, I can make anything up that they've done that's illegal in order to get rid of them. And that is a huge problem.
Well,
and isn't it a huge problem that John Roberts said okay to Obamacare, now likely because some dirt was dug up on him?
Well, here's my issue with it. A lot of people want to slam George Bush, maybe rightfully so for certain things.
He's a war criminal, yes. He should be in jail.
But here's the thing. Whatever Bush done, Obama's put on steroids.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing that irritates me. Bush didn't run on that, but Obama proclaimed to have this most transparent administration. He's the most secretive, and they've even had press people like Susan Page, editor of the what's the big newspaper? Not coming to mind.
Wall Street Journal?
USA Today.
Okay.
USA Today saying that Obama is the most dangerous president in their lifetime to the press.
What I said in 2008, before Obama was elected, was that Obama was going to be, if I likened him to a closing pitcher in a baseball game, he's the guy that comes in to throw hard and get the final 3 outs of a game. Obama is the guy who's come in to throw fastballs and get the final 3 outs in the American Republic. And as much entertainment as electioneering provides, I seriously do not believe that there will be an election in 2016 because everything that Obama and his administration have done is to set up the parameters for them to declare martial law and not leave. They are practicing martial law drills right now with this Jade Helm exercise that we talked about 2 weeks ago. They are practicing for it. They're practicing for extractions of what they call political dissidents right now. He is not leaving. He is not leaving. He is not leaving.
We will soon see because the political season is rapidly approaching, and we will be having some debates soon, I guess, about June or something.
Well, when's the Republican straw poll? Wouldn't that be in August up in Boone? That's
Ames.
always a good time.
Boone or Ames?
This year it's going to be in Boone.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they decided not to go to ISU campus in Ames. That was that seems like a more logical choice.
That would seem the likely place to do it.
Right, but somewhere up in Boone this year.
Okay.
That's always a good time.
Well, we're at the end of our show, and
we got Wayne Carter coming up at 7, don't we?
Yeah, he'll be up right after me, and we want to thank you for tuning in and listening, and encourage you to get involved and call the show if suggest topics if you want us to talk about something that we're not particularly talking about the topic of your interest, call in and sick us on one that you think is something we need to know about. So this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, my co-host, David Koenig. We'll see you next week.